Hey now, and welcome down to KC Toy Reviews. We are here today with Lady Dimitrescu. Or maybe for the rest of the video, I'm just going to go with Lady D from the recently released Resident Evil Village. Now, I am a massive Resident Evil fan. I have been playing Resident Evil 1 all the way through Village and everything in between. So I was very excited to get my hands on this release. And of course, the question of the day is this figure even worth picking up? So let's go ahead, fine comb some of those details, and dive right the hell goddamn in. Alright, so here we are again with Lady D from Resident Evil Village. Now let's get a couple obvious things right out of the way, and well, maybe not so obvious because we don't have another 1/6 scale figure next to Lady D here, but the scale of this figure is severely off. I mean, this is basically like half the size that she actually should be. In the game, I do believe that Lady D is right around 9 feet and Ethan Winters is right around 6 foot. So she towers over him as she chases him through the game, and I know there was a lot of people out there that were very disappointed that they botched the size on this figure. And of course, with that said, there is another oddity about this figure is that she has gigantic boobs and a set of lingerie. Now, as awkward as that is, my guess is there are a lot of people out there that sexualize Lady D from Resident Evil. And hey, that's okay. If she's your fantasy, she's your thing, that's totally okay. I dig it. I am not here to judge. But the makers of this figure slapped on some gigantic boobies, included a set of lingerie, and then on top of that, they threw it on a silicone body, which makes it a little bit more realistic. So there's two routes you're going for this thing. You have a thing for Lady D, or you just want to have any iteration of her in your collection. And personally, I do not see an accurately sized Lady D on the horizon, and at around $150, I think that this one is a good placeholder for now. Now, next up will be the head sculpt, and well, I don't think the head sculpt is horrible. There's a couple ways to look at this. Do I see Lady Dimitrescu, whatever the hell her name is? Yes, I absolutely do. Is it a little bit creepy, kind of has that dark gothic vibe to it? Yes, it does. Does it look identical to the game? No, absolutely not. Unfortunately, the skin should be a little more zombie-esque / white pale, but of course the issue there is they're using the silicone body, and then at that point you're doing a complete rehaul and a colorization of that body. The skin tones are not going to match. So with that ping pong back and forth of pros and cons, do I like it? Yeah, absolutely. Especially through the lens, I think it does look really creepy. That little grin on her, it has some great details, the pearl necklace. And then, of course, the rooted hair is, well, left to be desired. I don't think they did a bad job with it, but as always, rooted hair does have these little fuzzy pieces that kind of stick out all around downtown. And of course, the true iconic look of Lady D would be with her gigantic hat here. The only problem with it is it's kind of just loose and dangles on there. I mean, it should have been a little bit more secure and snug on here. It's basically a balancing act. I mean, it's not horrible. It's not going to fall off too much, but if you did put a little bit too much pressure on it, it actually could fall off. Now, as far as accessories, other than the perverted lingerie set, we do have this little smoking apparatus here. So we have this. We have these claws in hand. Now, I will note the claws are flippity-floppity. I mean, they do the job. Could they have added a little bit more detail to those? I mean, sure. I'm just not exactly sure what, but they definitely are a little flippity-floppity. So in the quality department, I would say that the hand is not the greatest. She does come with another pair of gloves and then a bunch of bare hands. And then the last accessory would be the hat on her head. And I mean, as far as tailoring, I think they did a pretty fantastic job on this gown here. Like I said, there's the biggest boobies I've ever seen on a figure. I mean, literally, they are the biggest boobies I've ever had on a figure I've owned. I think we could have gone with a normal rack. But anyways, the gown on her is pretty nicely tailored. I don't mind this. We have kind of this crunched up bunch, a silky back to it. So a couple different feels, textures, and layers throughout this dress here. And then last up, we do have some shoes on here. You know what? I would note that if you notice, I have her on a stand almost the entire time, which is rare for me. The reason being is with these high heels, I mean, she was toppling over like crazy. As you can see, there's a little peg and ball joint there, so decent articulation on it, but she's top heavy. We have high heels. I mean, getting her to balance without the stand was near impossible. And Lady D as you've never seen her before. You know what? I take that back. There's probably a ton of perverted Resident Evil mods. I know I've seen a couple of them online, so there is probably a plethora of people that have seen her like this, but this is a first time for me, and well, dare I say, even a first time for KC Toy Reviews. I don't think I've ever had something like this on display before, but I will be very candid, and I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, of course, but I had several requests to see what the outfit underneath looks like, and of course we are all adults, so this was the other accessory / lingerie pack that came with Lady D. Obviously this is out of control, totally inappropriate, but it's an option. And the other thing I would say is that it was a complete pain in the ass to put this set on. I felt weird doing it. I broke one of her earrings on her head, and I was very nervous taking some of the hands on and off. And a quick side-by-side with Ethan Winters. We now have it shoved right in our face that Lady D is massively underscaled. She should be right around 9 feet and towering above Ethan Winters. And it's really nothing that I'm going to sit here and bash on the rest of the video. I think I like it on my shelf due to the representation of the character, which isn't too bad. However, once placed side by side with your other Resident Evil characters, it does look a little bit weird. And there we have it. Lady D from Resident Evil Village. Now, I did have a blunder that I forgot to mention in the beginning of this video, and that is, I have no idea who the hell made this thing. I did make my purchase from gianttoy.com, and even when I go there or check on the eBay listings, I basically just see a bunch of letters and numbers. So I really have no idea who the hell made this thing. If you know, comment below. And if somebody does put that there, I'll go ahead and add that to the info section. But as far as what we have in front of us, not bad. Couple things to note, that as I did do the video, one of those big claws did fall off one of the fingers. I kind of just jammed it back in there, so right now it's just balance in there. I'll go ahead and glue that later. And then one of her earrings fell off as well. So we do have some quality control issues, so be very careful if you are perverted and put her in the lingerie mode. And listen, it's okay to be perverted. I'm just being blunt. I'm not making fun of anybody whatsoever. Whether you want her in this mode, the lingerie mode, I don't give a crap. To each their own. But I would just say be careful. The little knickknacks and the accessories fall off very easy. But as far as the pros, I actually enjoy the head sculpt. It could use some tweaking as far as looking accurate from the game, but I do not mind what we have in front of us. It's a creepy gothic vibe look. That evil grin matched with a pretty decent paint application and nicely rooted hair ended up being okay with my expectations. The tailored outfit is very nice. The accessories were to be expected. I really didn't think they were going to include anything else, nor could I imagine anything else that she would need. And then we have to note the bonus lingerie set again. So pair that with a decent head sculpt and all the stuff she came with, on top of a silicone body. For $150, it's actually not a bad price. Obviously, she comes with a stand. We couldn't stand her without it. She's a balancing act. With the high heels and the heavy top, dare I say, top heavy breasts, she will fall over without this stand. And of course, lastly, the scale is massively off. This figure should be several inches higher to accurately represent the character that's in front of us. And well, with that said, I think it's a good time to segue into a score on this thing, and I'm going to be honest, it's not going to be a good score whatsoever. I had things falling apart on me. The gigantic boobies and the representation of the over-sexualized body do throw me off a little bit. So with that said, I'm going to round this out at a 5.6 out of 10. It kind of floats right in the middle of me saying, I can't suggest this figure. If you're a massive Resident Evil fan, I think you'll be okay and happy with it. So we are going to go ahead and wrap it up here today at KC Toys with a 5.6 out of 10. Can't suggest it, but if you're a diehard fan, you might not hate it. And if you're not a fan at all and just want a 1/6 scale figure with some lingerie, well, this might be the figure for you as well. Catch you guys next time.